Nessun dorma, the art of the deal or the art of war. This is the third episode of our MAGA Counter Cognitive Warfare here live from Palm Springs, California with Leo and Chrissy Zagami.
Hi guys.
Yes. How have you been? How was your week? Of course, you know, we really delighted you with 2 shows a week this month. Unfortunately, we didn't receive all that support that was required to maybe carry on in the month of December for various reasons, mainly because of the lack of sponsors. No?
Yeah.
So here we go, though, thanking our sponsors for the current show. Christy, who is the sponsors of today's show? What sponsors?
Daniel Estes and Bruce Kodish and Nagarizada Minta and Dennis Bolanos Enrique.
Okay, perfect. There's a lot that we will be discussing today. In the meantime, I will be putting the GoFundMe on the screen in case you want to help us out. And we also have a Cash App handle that you can find at leozagami.com. We are broadcasting also on one of our old channels that is being kind of a couple of old channels.
Which one?
Now, this is one of the many that was censored and removed by
Top
YouTube.
Secret Leo Zagami?
No, unfortunately not that one, but another of the Italian channels. However, YouTube has unblocked and...
They didn't unblock my channel.
No. And they haven't unblocked also the main Leo Zagami official channel with 20,000 subscribers. I mean, they have kind of brought us back a couple of minor channels, but that's not too bad. At least we are here, and we are here hoping that you will enjoy today's show because we have a lot of news, guys, And like I said, this is the GoFundMe. In case somebody wants to support us, you can do it. You can do it, guys. Okay. We are leaving the music, the Nessun Dorma by Christopher Macchio that was sung in Butler, Pennsylvania, when Trump went back, and the place where they attempted to take his life, and where history might have turned for the worst, even regarding the latest events on the world stage. Is really important to have Trump's presence because NATO, as you know, has tried in the last few years through their cognitive warfare to convince us of how evil is Vladimir Putin, how evil are the Russians, and pushing us more and more, not only to support Ukraine, but to actually support a direct confrontation. Now there is this week a document of 1,000 pages that was kind of filtered, let's say a 1,000-page document on a German plan in case of war, which was leaked. And it is a very incredible and dramatic turn of events that they're expecting there in Europe for having a plan which is basically organizing all the military, all the weapons, all the medicines going to Germany. Germany is at the moment having a very hard time. But as you can see from this article, which was published yesterday, secret documents showed Wednesday that Berlin is planning to deploy up to 800,000 NATO troops, including Americans, into Ukraine as Russian nuclear threats escalate. It's called Operation Deutschland. It's a 1,000-page plan to prepare Germany for a potential World War III scenario. And according to the German newspaper Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung, one of the main newspapers in Germany, this top secret documents outline how to defend buildings and infrastructure for military use, as well as how businesses and people should prepare for potential dangers. They also hinted that Berlin was planning planning to move 200,000 military vehicles across German soil if the alliance was forced to help Ukraine's efforts, though additional specifics were kept, of course, confidential. This is really disturbing. It was also picked up by the New York Post, and it was published, though, just prior to what Vladimir Putin did, because Vladimir Putin respected unilaterally the deal that was done back in the 80s by Ronald Reagan and Gorbachev. But at one point, I mean, when they started to shoot long-range missiles, the first 6 long-range missiles were were made in the US, the other 12 were made in Great Britain, and at that point, as you know, Vladimir Putin went on the offense by showing the new capabilities of his hypersonic missile that left everybody shocked in Europe. So Europe's preparations, but then now they were surprised because Putin kept this as a surprise, this unleashing of a new kind of weapon, which is not just an experimental missile as the Pentagon has claimed. This is a kind of, it's of course a ballistic missile. Ballistic missile is not maybe intercontinental, it's medium range, but that's just a technicality as it's rather close. Of course, Ukraine is rather close to Russia. But there was a lot of shock all over Europe when this Oreshnik RBM capable missile was launched on Dnipro. Dnipro, by the way, like I said, and I wrote on leozagami.com this week, is the birthplace of Madame Blavatsky. Madame Blavatsky was the founder of the Theosophical Society in 1875. Without Madame Blavatsky, we will not have probably the United Nations as we know them. The backbone, the spiritual backbone of the United Nations, that New Age backbone, is actually Theosophic, as well as, of course, all of the various branches of modern Satanism that come from people like Aleister Crowley that were directly involved with the Theosophical Society, as well as people like the late Michael Aquino. So to go back to what we were discussing now, which is, of course, the art of the deal or the art of war. We know that Trump is known for this incredible book, Trump, The Art of the Deal. At the same time, we know that The Art of War is another important book, is that major military treaty written by Sun Tzu, which I also cite and reference in volume 11 of my Confessions. And so when NATO's Secretary General went yesterday to visit Trump, it wasn't just because Trump is a private citizen waiting to get to the White House. He's already a president-elect, and the situation it's escalating so fast since Joe Biden's administration has given the permission for these long-range missiles that, of course, this dramatic reaction from Vladimir Putin has pushed immediately NATO to go and talk with Donald J. Trump, because Donald J. Trump has a direct connection with Vladimir Putin. He has already said that he will terminate this war in 24 hours. But this is what happened yesterday when Putin discussed Oreshnik, his new hypersonic missile, with his defense.
Dated July 2023. With regard to the Russian industry, we've developed the intermediate range missile complex based on all the design documentation that was produced as part of this project, and the hypersonic non-nuclear warhead was successfully tested, effectively making a strike against a strategic facility of the enemy in enemy territory. And the analysis shows that the trajectory and other performance parameters are meeting the specifications. This system has no match in the world, and it is effective against air defense systems. It allows us to hit various kinds of targets, single targets, broad area targets, and achieve many kinds of combat objectives. It can be used throughout the territory of Europe.
It can be used throughout the territory of Europe was the thing that really panicked everybody. All the chancelleries of Europe at that point were in a state of panic. I mean, here you're talking about the possibility of reaching in 12 minutes Berlin, in 20 minutes Paris, less than 20 minutes Paris. I mean, Russia versus Europe, this is how RT described it. As you can see, the Oreshnik missile approximate flight time is very fast.
Whoa.
It will not really live. I mean, we're talking about 12 minutes for Warsaw, 15 minutes for Berlin, 20 minutes for Paris or London. And we already saw with the non-nuclear warheads the devastating force of this attack on Dnipro. Arriving from the sky like an asteroid, the witnesses said this is the Oreshnik hypersonic ballistic missile that can now strike all over Europe without any possibility of defense from America or its allies. There are no means of countering such weapon, Putin said. So the missile obliterated the Ukrainian rocket manufacturing base, and this was only a warning.
You know what kind of damage that kind of missile does?
Well, it depends if it's a nuclear warhead or not. In this case, fortunately, it wasn't a nuclear warhead, but it was still very devastating. And the impact was felt all over Ukraine without being nuclear. So imagine what will happen if there was actually nuclear warheads. It would probably destroy the whole of Ukraine. And this, it's just a warning, like I said. But Joe Biden, who is a president who the Russians themselves have described as a zombie, is actually a mentally unfit president. I mean, I'm not saying that. It's actually the Russians on RT saying that. So let's see what the Russians say about Joe Biden, who has given the possibility to the Ukrainians to use these long-range missiles, triggering this crisis, which is the biggest crisis that we have since probably the Bay of Pigs, even bigger than any crisis we ever had during the Cold War. A mentally unfit Joe Biden has crossed the line between proxy and direct war with Russia. What will be the consequences? What would be the consequences be of the American president's approval of a long-range missile strike? Well, the consequences were felt a few hours later when Vladimir Putin decided to use his experimental missile. So it's, of course, a strategy of tension. In this book, I explain how psychological operations work, and a missile without nuclear warheads is mostly a psychological operation. So it's very important to understand that. At the same time, though, like I explained in Volume 9 of my confession, Dnipro is the birthplace of Madame Blavatsky. Podalia, always in Ukraine, is the birthplace of Jacob Frank, the guy who gave birth to the Frankist movement, which picked up on the legacy of Shabbatai Zevi and gave birth to the infamous Sabbatean frankest. So Ukraine is really a place that has been created, as I explained in volume 9, almost artificially from the enemies of Russia, out of thin air from the 1850s onwards, but even prior to that, let's say from the 1830s onwards, through various secret societies that created this identity, Ukrainian identity, that wasn't even there. Ukraine is actually a border zone. It's an area which is always been historically part of the Russian history and tradition. So they created out of thin air this identity, and now there is Zelensky, who is still, even after the latest threat by Vladimir Putin with this Oreshnik, asking for more weapons, asking to have the possibility to defend themselves from these Oreshnik missiles, which is absolutely impossible for the West. That's why there is an emergency meeting now between NATO and Ukraine planned for this Tuesday. And this meeting, of course, is coming in after the meeting with Donald J. Trump. So Russia is sending their warning with the hypersonic missile strike on Ukraine. The West, of course, says it's reckless. The same thing can be said by Zelensky, but the truth of it is that these crooks in Ukraine have stolen a lot of money, and now a former Polish official claims that Ukraine has stolen half of US aid money, laundering it back to the US Democratic Party. So there is not only a zombie president here in the US, but there is also a crook party that fortunately has been removed from power after the elections of November 5th have overwhelmingly showed that America doesn't want to have anything to do with wokeness, with socialism, with communism. However, in the last couple of days, CNN, as well as the New York Times and all they're starting to redimension a little bit the victory of Trump, saying, oh, well, the popular vote was only won by this 1%. I mean, they're trying to
step back all their comments.
No, to downplay the victory of Trump and say that, well, it wasn't such a bad loss from our side, when instead it's a very big loss.
I say they lost all of California almost, so that's a big loss.
That's a big loss, and that's why the ultimate car salesman went into a car dealership and changed his whole demeanor. I mean, he was the one who said, we will protect California from Trump. Now he wants to embrace everybody. This is the ultimate fake politician, Gavin Newsom.
No.
I'm not looking. It's not about voters. It's not about voters. I care about people.
Not to care about people. Mr. Fake. Ladies and gentlemen, here is Mr. Fake.
I don't care who you voted for. I care about people. I care about Trump supporters. I care about RFK Jr. supporters. I care about Tucker Carlson supporters. I care about Charlie Kirk supporters. I care about Ben Shapiro supporters. I care about all people. I care about the people living here in the Sierra, folks down in San Diego where I just was, or in my backyard in Fair Oaks, California. I care about people, and I care about protecting them, their public safety, and their public health. And I care about being honest with them as well, and level setting with them. This is not an academic exercise.
You see? I mean, how can you get more fake? I mean, this is the epitome of fakeness. This is what we always despise out of politicians, being fake. And he just is even more fake than ever.
We had the experience with Donald Trump. Don't fall sort of prey to somehow this is some new day. Listen to what these guys are saying and telling you. Look at what they're prepared to do day one, January 20th, 21st. Get prepared, and no impact will be greater than the impact in this region. And there may be a lot more Trump supporters here, but that doesn't matter. I'm going to still have their backs because they need us to have their back, not turn their back on.
Tonight, Governor Gavin Newsom talking about his plans to resist the Trump administration.
We know their playbook. We know what they're going to do.
Newsom wants to be the face of resistance against the Trump administration.
We talked about the 122 lawsuits we were involved in the Trump administration. We talked about the special session and how we're going to move aggressively to be proactive and not reactive in the incoming Trump administration. And I guess that's what people voted for. But I got to tell you, a lot of folks will be hurt if we don't push back. I care about people. I don't care who you voted for. I care about people. I care about Trump supporters. I care about all people. I care about people. And I care about being honest with them as well and level setting with them.
They're really showing themselves to do really well.
I mean, who does this kind of announcement from a dealership? He's a used car salesman, the ultimate kind. I mean, this is amazing, guys.
California, what do you want?
What kind of bullshit is this?
I wish he'd leave the country. Go with Sharon Stone. She's in Torino at the film festival now.
Oh yeah, we have a lot of people. We have Ellen DeGenerate, not DeGeneres, who went to Great Britain. We have, of course, Richard Gere, who went to Spain. All these people are leaving. Please
Europe's
leave.
not that great, but maybe they'll like it.
Why don't they like it here in California? They have still Gavin Newsom who's protecting them.
He's going to Trump the state.
Yeah, he's going to Trump.
He's going to have to kick us out, then.
I mean, he realized basically that more than half of California has voted for Trump, and actually more than 3/4 of the counties here in California has turned red, and now he's basically saying, well, I have your back. I want you in my back, Newsom. I don't want, please. The guy looks like a soap opera. The Bold and the Beautiful is actually filmed here in Palm Springs. Why don't you just go and work here? And I mean, he's the kind of guy who could really be a great soap opera
I don't
actor.
think he's that great, honestly.
That's a soap opera actor?
No, I don't. I would never. No. Maybe on Bold and Beautiful, but
he could be a used car salesman on the Bold and the Beautiful. I think
I don't even know if that show still is on.
Yes, it is on. Absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely. At least in Italy. I don't know. they keep it going.
Think it's on still.
No, it's still going.
Really?
It's still filmed here in Palm Springs.
Yeah.
Okay, so welcome to the Leo Zagami show. Somebody say, can we start a GoFundMe to ship Gavin out of America? Well, I'm actually searching for a sponsor so I can candidate myself, just like Schwarzenegger did, and become a governor of California.
All right. It's never going to happen.
Well, if you have a few billions, not a few millions, because you need a lot of money to do the politics here in America.
Well,
I'm all
we can't
for
even
it.
keep this show on.
That's why we are in a
I always
mission
remind him.
impossible.
I'm like, she says these things. I'm like, you know what? We can barely keep this show
Guys,
running.
to keep the show running, we need to sell this book. Volume 9, of course, if you want
We're actually pretty worried about next year, you guys, because
Yeah.
our main sponsor is leaving, and we've never tried to do this show without our main sponsor.
Yes.
And so, I don't even know if we're going to be able to do this anymore.
Well,
it doesn't cost that much. It really doesn't. We don't,
Well,
it's not much,
yeah.
but if we don't get that, we can't do it. I hope so, because I really like to be here.
In regards to Gavin Newsom, today's politicians are just useful idiots. Just so you know, volume 9 of my confessions. Now, in regards to what I said, yesterday we had the visit of Mark Rutte, who is he is the new Secretary General of NATO. We had Jens Stoltenberg, my arch enemy, who I hate because
I thought your arch enemy was that Lindsay. How many arch enemies
no,
do you
I'm talking about the guy who got me arrested for espionage in Norway. More enemy than that.
Didn't Renzi do something too?
But yes, but
He got
in
you
Italy.
arrested,
Yeah, in
really?
Italy. but that's different for politics. I'm talking about espionage.
Well, that was really traumatic, and I
Well,
hate
but
that
that
guy.
you were not around when that happened with Jens Stoltenberg. But in any case, Jens Stoltenberg now is back in Norway. Probably can accept the position as governor of the Bank of Norway, which is a position they wanted him to accept already a couple of years ago. But in the meantime, Mark Rutte, he's from Holland. He is supposed to be a little bit more in line with Trump's policies. He went there yesterday. And so what happened yesterday? Well, there is not much in the media because, of course, everything has been kept within wraps. But I can show you what NATO has posted on their official site in regards to yesterday's meeting, which was said to be tense, but very important because Trump can be the one avoiding this to escalate further in a situation which could become really worrying if it becomes a nuclear war. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte meets with President-elect Donald J. Trump. Here all smiles, of course, but they discussed the range of global security issues facing the alliance because, like I said, on Tuesday, the alliance will have their most important meeting with Ukraine, with Zelensky. Now, the Secretary General's team also met with Congressman Mike Waltz and members of the President-elect's National Security Team. This is a brief statement made by the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. In regards instead to what's going to happen on Tuesday, it's obvious that the current administration is pushing the whole world into a conflict. But there will always be a response from Russia. At the moment, the response has been rather symbolic. But however, there has been some things going on behind the scenes that they haven't shown on American media, because between yesterday and today, 46 Russians who were basically arrested or picked up from their own homes because Ukraine invaded Russia, and picked up a series of civilians who didn't manage to escape. Now, they were given back to Russia through Belarus, and amongst them something like 12 kids. And these are the actual scenes that, I repeat, have not been shown here in America, but are, I think, very important because they demonstrate that there is still, they're still making deals between Ukraine and Russia when it's possible. I mean, when America doesn't interfere. When I talk about America, I talk about the Biden administration, of course, which is the Soros administration. This is what happened. Finally, they were able, these Russians, to go back home because they were simply civilians that the Ukrainian army picked out of their homes that didn't manage to escape. As we know, the Ukrainians have started this reckless invasion of the Russian territory, and these are all civilians that were relegated in the Kursk region. And this was also rather interesting because they gave back these people after Putin bombed that military base in Dnipro. So not only is a signal to the West, in particular to the Illuminati, because Dnipro is the birthplace of Madame Blavatsky. And like I explain here in this book, of course, Satan likes to play with both sides, but in the end, Satan has always sustained visibly through a variety of organizations here in the West, Ukraine rather than Russia. All the satanic churches, organizations, sects have worked in support of Ukraine. That demonstrates how evil is Ukraine. Ukraine like I said, could be called the place where modern Satanism was actually born. Because without Madame Blavatsky, we will not have modern Satanism as we know it today. So I think this is very important to outline. And in the meantime, of course, we had in Gatwick a alarm for a suspected package, and at the same time in London, in front of the American embassy, there was also another suspected bomb that was detonated. So this who played? Why is the media not discussing this here in America? Why they're not telling us what happened in Gatwick? Why is the American media not talking about a suspected bomb found near the American embassy in London? I mean, a suspected bomb near the American embassy in London, it's, I think, a news worth, I mean, of course, you have CBS giving the news, but nobody really discussing it that much out in the public. Who placed these packages? What was in that package?
I think Ellen did it.
Ellen DeGeneres.
Yeah.
DeGeneres.
She
Now,
did it.
I think that here we're talking about either a signal from these organizations of anarchists, of leftists who hate Donald J. Trump, and kind of, or something else. I mean, we would like to know more about it, but the news doesn't really tell us. They don't tell us what has happened. So we are left kind of like, no, we don't know. But remember, we have yesterday an event that was unprecedented, and now, after the meeting between the Secretary General of NATO and Trump, there is a NATO emergency meeting on Tuesday, this Tuesday. I like the way the English press puts in. Titan Putin gloated about his newest toy after attack Boeing to mass produce dozens. Apparently, it's already mass production. This new kind of electronic missile that was already experimented and is now in production. And the results of it seem to be rather disturbing. I mean, what Putin has said should definitely scare the Western world, because he was not bluffing this time. That is
I was listening to CNN the other day, the day that they put the bomb, and they were doing. You were out, and so I was just listening to it.
The day they launched the hypersonic.
Yeah, the day it happened, and no, they didn't seem to take it seriously. They said that he always.
Initially, but of course that was before Putin himself went on the air in Russia with this warning. And of course, here it's better to take maybe the thing off so you can have the translation to understand better what he's saying. Here we are.
Вооруженных сил Российской Федерации, граждан нашей страны, наших друзей во всем мире а также тех, кто продолжает питать иллюзии о возможности нанесения стратегического поражения России, о тех событиях, которые происходят сегодня в зоне проведения специальной военной операции. А именно после применения по нашей территории дальнобойного оружия западного производства. Продолжая курс на эскалацию спровоцированного Западом конфликта на Украине, США и их союзники по НАТО ранее заявили о том, что дают разрешение на применение своих систем дальнобойного высокоточного оружия по территории Российской Федерации. Экспертам хорошо известно, и российская сторона это неоднократно подчеркивала, что использовать подобное оружие без прямого участия военных специалистов стран-производителей такого оружия невозможно. 19 ноября 6 оперативно-тактическими ракетами «Атакамс» производства США и 21 ноября в ходе комбинированной ракетной атаки системами «Шторм Шедоу» производства Великобритании и «Химарс» производства США были нанесены удары по военным объектам на территории Российской Федерации в Брянской и Курской областях. С этого момента, как мы неоднократно подчеркивали, ранее спровоцированный Западом региональный конфликт на Украине приобрел элементы глобального характера. Наши системы противовоздушной обороны отражали эти атаки. В результате цели, которые очевидно были поставлены перед собой противником, не достигнуты. Возникшее на складе боеприпасов в Брянской области возгорание от падения обломков ракет «Атакамс» ликвидировано. Жертв и серьезных разрушений нет. В Курской области нападение было совершено на один из командных пунктов нашей группировки «Север». В результате атаки и противовоздушного боя есть, к сожалению, пострадавшие, погибшие и раненые из числа личного состава подразделений внешней охраны объекта и обслуживающего персонала. Командный и оперативный состав пункта управления не пострадал и осуществляет в штатном режиме руководство действиями наших войск по уничтожению и выдворению частей противника из Курской области. Еще раз хочу особо подчеркнуть, что применение противником подобного оружия не в состоянии повлиять на ход боевых действий в зоне специальной военной операции. Наши войска успешно наступают по всей линии боевого соприкосновения. Все задачи, которые мы перед собой ставим, будут решены. В ответ на применение американского и британского дальнобойного оружия 21 ноября текущего года российские вооруженные силы нанесли комбинированный удар по одному из объектов оборонно-промышленного комплекса Украины. В боевых условиях было проведено в том числе и испытание одной из новейших российских ракетных систем средней дальности. В данном случае с баллистической ракетой в безъядерном гиперзвуковом оснащении. Наши ракетчики назвали ее «Орешник». Испытания прошли успешно. Цель пуска достигнута. На территории Украины в городе Днепропетровске поражен один из крупнейших и известных еще со времен Советского Союза промышленных комплексов, который и сегодня производит ракетную технику, другое вооружение. Разработка ракет средней и меньшей дальности осуществляется нами в качестве ответной меры на планы США по производству и развертыванию ракет средней и меньшей дальности в Европе и Азиатско-Тихоокеанском регионе. Полагаем, что США совершили ошибку, разрушив в одностороннем...
The United States made a mistake, Putin says, unilaterally destroying the INF Treaty in 2019.
...в порядке в 2019 году под надуманным предлогом...
And that is very important for Putin. Today, the United States is not only producing such equipment, but as we...
Сегодня США не только производят такую технику, но, как мы видим, они...
As we can see, has worked out ways to deploy its advanced missile system to different regions. This is important because it it needs a little bit of a rewind in history for those who are, of course, younger. The 1987 Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces INF Treaty required the United States and the Soviet Union to eliminate and permanently forswear all of their nuclear and conventional ground launches, ballistics, and cruise missiles with ranges of 500 to 4,500 kilometers. Now, this intermediate range nuclear forces treaty was abandoned in 2019. The military-industrial complex kind of played a trick with President Trump at the time. Trump was, of course, a businessman who, in his first term, felt victim of both the military-industrial complex as well as the big pharma, as we saw. So the fact that America and Russia find themselves now, it's also based on what happened with the withdrawal from the treaty that happened in August 2019. And it was Michael Pompeo. And that's why Trump didn't take back Pompeo for the new administration. Pompeo was a swamp creature, was somebody who played into this mess. On February 2, 2019, the United States provided 6 months notice of withdrawal from the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty due to the Russian Federation continuing violation of the treaty, they said. And eventually, here, Putin says that they unilaterally, though, decided to respect this treaty. Until now, the long-range missiles have arrived, of course, in Russian territory.
Своих войск отработали вопросы переброски в разные регионы мира, в том числе в Европу, своих перспективных ракетных систем. Более того, в ходе учений они проводят тренировки по их применению. Напомню, Россия добровольно в одностороннем порядке взяла на себя обязательства.
Russia unilaterally committed not to deploy intermediate range and shorter range missiles.
Не развертывать ракеты средней и меньшей дальности до тех пор, пока американское оружие
weapons of this kind appear in any region of the world to that means that really, if it wasn't for Joe Biden, but Joe Biden is really not Joe Biden these days. Joe Biden is it's just the shell. It's Alex Soros, it's Barack Hussein Obama. These are the criminals behind the current administration that wants to push us towards a nuclear Armageddon. However, the art of the deal and the art of war, this is something I wrote about because it's very important to understand what Trump has written in his own book, as well as what Sun Tzu has written in his own book. These two books are unlikely to ever meet. No, I mean, a book like this one, The Art of the Deal. I have actually Sun Tzu's book in Italy, the Italian edition. I might get my mother to send it because I need that book. Absolutely. These two books are very important because, like I said in my latest article, you can find on Zagami.com. Sun Tzu said in his masterpiece, The Art of War, he will win who knows when to fight and when not to fight. While Trump wrote in his Art of the Deal, my style of deal making is quite simple and straightforward. And that's what we need right now. After the Machiavellian play of Barack Hussein Obama playing the puppet master with this old fella who won the elections from a basement, Joe Biden, a guy who is completely corrupt and also in bed with China. Let's not forget the real puppet masters here, because China is already preparing for Trump's arrival. And so let's check out how China is preparing, because it seems like the mainstream media is already kind of giving the guidelines that Trump should follow, which is outrageous, but is important, I think, to understand how outrageous it is. Watch this article here. It says, the title, Steve was unusually frank in spelling out China's 4 red lines for the US, a clear warning for Trump's China hoax. How dare China warn anything? China is now able of being in this position because we, in the hands of people like Joe Biden, Obama, Clinton, and many others, and also the neocons like Bush, because let's not forget that Bush father was actually in Beijing with Barbara Bush in the early 70s, bowing down to the communist superpower and preparing to unleash on the world their capacity as the made in China that we all know nowadays. We made this monster. We created this monster. This monster was actually created in the Bohemian Grove. So we have now created the monster, and now Xi Jinping is kind of unusually candid with Joe Biden in the last meeting as their country's leaders, and Xi outlined China's red lines for the US, including the country's rights to development. So they can pollute and they can be the biggest polluters in the world. At the same time, they can become the leading country that produces electric vehicles and all the technology for the so-called green economy. But we instead need to respect all the parameters of these limiting climate change freaks. Well, that's not going to happen with President Donald J. Trump. So last week, we had, of course, the meeting we discussed already that happened in Lima, Peru. Joe Biden is a former shell of himself. He's just a zombie. But the fact that Xi Jinping said these are the most important guardrails and safety nets for China-US relations, how dare he even open his mouth? Xi's explicit message is notable because it appears to be the first time these red lines have been issued at the presidential level. How dare he? This is an attempt to set the floor for US-China relations in light of the uncertainty surrounding the second Trump administration. Well, let me tell you, no mercy for China, no mercy for China, no mercy for China. This is a big problem, guys, unfortunately, and we will continue having these kind of problems with I mean, I'm very sorry that we have to deal with this kind of situation. But in the meantime, let me show our viewers, just for those who are watching us, people who are purchasing Lil Zagami's book and sending pics, you're always welcome at orderluminatorumuniversalis@gmail.com. I like to always show these pics of people that purchase my books, but also your book, Christy. You know that if you want to eat well, you can only do it through the Zagami Family Cookbook, which is authentic Italian cooking explained in a very easy way. Fantastic pictures, fantastic food, guys. You can really learn and transform your kitchen.
I made pasta Nerano. When was that? Yesterday?
Yeah, but you transformed it. You actually use instead of provolone another cheese, and actually it came out very good. It came out very, I mean, it means that you can be kind of flexible when it comes to the ingredients at times, though.
Not really. Some of them are really, like, they're really picky in Italy about how you make things.
Absolutely. But I mean, here you can also sometimes, when you don't find, because it's not always
but you can always change it up for your own taste too.
Yes, absolutely.
Or if you don't have an ingredient.
And guys, please support our show also. Before the end of the year, we definitely need you to support this show, because we will be, of course, offering you only one show a week from December. because this is not possible for us.
It doesn't really grow this show. We don't really get much growth, or I don't know what's going on. It feels not very successful lately.
Well, guys, I will be going back to my work as a writer.
Maybe we're fizzling out for 2025.
I don't know. I hope not.
I hope not. I hope that.
Not. But it seems
you want us here,
but things are not easy, and so we will see. We will see. We will see. Moving forward with yet more news. We have, of course, a lot of talk this week about another cycle, MSNBC Joyride, who urges once again, she did it already on her show with a psychologist, MSNBC is closing down, probably. Or maybe Elon Musk is going to buy it following the suggestion of Trump's son. We don't know that. But one thing is that Bill Gates is going to dedicate now all the money to stop the cows from farting. That is, and imagine this. I mean, both Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates are investing a lot of money to stop what they claim is a major cause of climate change, the cows farting. Now, if the cows don't fart, well, you might risk having some really shitty meat. That is, I mean, it's like if you don't fart, you have shitty food.
Why are you talking about this?
Well, but because that is one of the news of the day. Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates are investing a lot of money on stopping this problem for.
That's
wonderful. But in any case, let's see what Joyride says here. Don't. I mean,
people are rightfully alarmed. They have a reason to be alarmed.
Oh, yeah, are they? She is basically warning everybody that is about to, the proximity of Thanksgiving, to not invite any Republicans because they're going to sell you out to the authorities. Like we are some kind of Nazis. Sell you out for what?
It must be criminals then.
Yeah.
If we're going to sell them out.
Whatever.
And if you would vote for that, people may not feel so confident that they're safe with you. This is not crazy. This is legitimate feelings of fear of you and a feeling that you might not be someone they could trust. If this thing goes way south, autocracies go south real fast and things get ugly and people get asked to do things and turn people in and point people out and turn on them. And if you're voting affirmatively, gleefully for this, and people might, may not feel so confident in you anymore. That's real, and you kind of have to live with it. So if you think that you can vote for what people see as their destruction and then demand that they still are cool with you and kiki with you and have Thanksgiving with you, I think you're kind of missing the point of what people are upset about. They're afraid. And autocracy and fascism are things that are legitimate to be afraid of. So you may want to step back.
Whoa, step back, because Joyride is afraid.
I got it. Thank you so much,
yes.
Tony,
yes.
for the donation. That's so nice. Thank you.
Yeah, that's Tony with two N's. Tony.
It's pretty.
Yes. Okay.
Handsome.
Joyride.
People are rightfully alarmed.
Well, we are rightfully alarmed as soon as we see you, because, she's just a monster. She's racist. She's terrible. She's really everything that I despise in a woman. She's not a woman. She's a monster. In any case, orb over New York City. Yes, guys, a strange orb over New York City. Let me show it to you.
Environmental review prior to launching the plan.
Now, you see it on the left side of your screen. You will see this orb passing by. And it's
environmental review prior to launching the plan.
It's not easy to spot, so that's why I'm playing it various times. But there's a lot of talk about orbs, UFOs these days. We had, of course, this event that we discussed on our show taking place in the Capitol Hill. So what is the future of disclosure? It seems like this is a soft disclosure in motion taking place. Will we have further news about UFOs, WAPs, however you want to call them, during Trump presidency? That's possible. Like I said, it seems like there is a soft disclosure in place. But what are we disclosing here? And is it true that we had all this reverse engineering? Well, if I've discussed the subject of reverse engineering in regards to the creation of cyber Satan, aka the artificial intelligence, aka the quantum computers here in volume 9 of my confession, as well as volume 7 and volume 6.66, the trilogy of cyber Satan. And I think that when they're talking about disclosure, it's kind of like this soft kind of disclosure that doesn't really make us understand the implications of what they are disclosing. Because if we are still here,
it's always the same.
No, but if we're still having to admit that there is reverse engineering from these UFOs, by the time they admit it, the UFOs have already created around us this digital prison, if we want to use Alex's term, prison planet, which is in place already because the technology is advancing, and like the World Economic Forum has claimed, by 2030, we will probably implant everything that we now have on a smartphone.
That's not going to happen to me.
But it's going to happen to a lot of idiots who are probably going to queue at the Apple store for some kind of implant.
I don't even have an Apple phone.
Well, I'm just giving you an example here. Giving you an example. One thing that was very much discussed the whole week was Matt Gaetz. Matt Gaetz, who finally said no to his nomination. Matt Gaetz, guys, controversial guy. He no longer wants to be a congressman. Maybe Governor DeSantis will nominate him as senator in substitution of
the government. I saw on a thing.
What does he want to do?
He's gonna make one of those video things where he can make money, like
but that is really, I mean,
he's gonna be like a influencer.
No, come on. I mean, is he gonna end up working on Newsmax or Fox or something? I mean, it is true that he has joined Cameo. I mean, it is true, and I find this thing of Matt Gaetz joining Cameo, which was joined by George Santos. I mean, George Santos is definitely a desperado. No, come on. No, I mean, I'm surprised by this whole thing. I don't really understand where.
Me either. I don't understand.
Because Matt Gaetz charging $500 to make bespoke fan videos on Cameo website. It says on the site, I served in Congress. Trump nominated me to U.S. Attorney General. That didn't work out. And now he ends up on a site that for fun. I mean, it seems like really the downfall of somebody. It's a little bit weird, guys. It's a little bit weird.
It is a lot weird, actually.
It's very weird. It's he probably is gonna now expose a lot of people. Who knows? This is what he said.
Now I have to ask about just what your plans are, and it's okay if you have to, punt on it because you might not know. It's important to know you resigned from this Congress, not the next Congress. Our audience is 100% behind Matt Gaetz, by the way. They are very, very upset that you were not able to get.
I have the same impression a lot of people have here in the chat.
Yeah.
What about Donald J. Trump actually doing this whole nomination on purpose so he could trigger this massive reaction and in a way upset a lot of people, because he managed to upset a lot of people. I don't see really much difference between that pervert of the father of RFK Jr. and Matt Gaetz, to tell you the truth. I don't see much difference, because
are you talking about Bobby Kennedy?
I'm talking about, yes, Bobby Kennedy, this guy. He wasn't that different from Matt Gaetz. So, I mean, I think that Trump did it on purpose. But
in general, I have to ask, what is next for Matt Gaetz?
I'm still going to be in the fight, but it's going to be from a new perch. I do not intend to join the 119th Congress. There are a number of fantastic Floridians who've stepped up to run for my seat, people who have inspired with their heroism, with their public service. And I'm actually excited to see Northwest Florida go to new heights and have great representation. Charlie, I've been in an elected office for 14 years. I first got elected to the state house when I was 26 years old, and I'm 42 now. And I've got some other goals in life that I'm eager to pursue with my wife and my family. And so I'm going to be fighting for President Trump. I'm going to be doing whatever he asks of me, as I always have. But I think that 8 years is probably enough time in the United States Congress. You know, in Florida, our voters got to vote on term limits for state government, and the campaign was 8 is enough. And so you can only do 8 years in the Florida House of Representatives. And so it seems like a pretty poetic time to allow that great new blood to come in, to allow my district to have high quality representation. And don't worry, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not taking off for a tropical excursion for the rest of my life. I am here to help save this country. And one thing the great patriots at Turning Point know, we need people at every level. We need brilliant lawyers on the outside. We need tough congressmen and congresswomen on the inside. We need a leadership structure under President Trump that's going to allow for durability of our movement and the ability to continue this great realignment of our politics. And so I'll play a part in that. I plan to be a big voice, but maybe not as an elected member of the government.
Well, guys, this was the counter-cognitive warfare of this week. A lot of people ask me, what is cognitive warfare? Well, if you want to know more about cognitive warfare, I will always suggest to go on volume 11 of my confessions. However, there is also official documents that from NATO that can describe a little bit better what is cognitive warfare, to make you understand what we are doing here, because counter-cognitive warfare is a serious thing, guys. The use of cognitive warfare to target a nation's human capital highlights a growing threat vector. Cognitive warfare aims to create cognitive emotional conflict by influencing a target population's thoughts and values using technical means and information. This is what we are doing here. We are countering that cognitive warfare with a counter-cognitive warfare, making America great again. Hope you, of course, appreciate that. You appreciate what we're trying to do here. And of course, we will see you next week on Wednesday or Tuesday. Actually. No, we said.
Yeah, we're going to do Tuesday because Thursday is Thanksgiving. Yeah. We would have done either Tuesday. Yeah, we're going to do Tuesday.
Yes, Tuesday. And this until the end of this month. And then, of course, we will continue on a Saturday. But we want to thank those people who believe in us, who
and the ones that buy the book and
encourage. If we receive enough encouragement, we will definitely continue with 2 times a week. God bless you all. Have a great Sunday and a great start to your week. Have anything to add, Christy?
No, that's all, folks.
That's all, folks.
See you next week.
In that time, our world has taken so many steps in the wrong direction.
Share this video and put like. Yes, subscribe to our channels. and I see you soon. We see you soon.
Bye, everyone.
Are we gonna have some food from the paper?
Yeah, we're having that food. That's fine.
No, but you know, we're having pizza. Not for today.
Oh, yeah, we're having pizza.
Oh, well, Thanksgiving we will have to film some traditional American food by Christy. That's gonna be great. Take care with the Chester with the rest of sound and Albert visual.
Technology, social organization, dehumanization. Technology, social organization.